I think if you feel intimidated by your client, you've got this kind of reverse power distance going on, then it's really important that you prepare yourself well for the session. It's particularly important that you ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can go wrong here? And if you think about it, what is the worst thing that can go wrong here? Worst thing that can go wrong is you're going to ask a question, and the client, maybe you're going to be scared of the client's reaction to that question. I think that's in practical terms, that's the impact of being intimidated by your client, that you are going to carry into that meeting a feeling of what we call a child-parent relationship. It comes from transactional analysis. And what you want, the relationship that you want, is what's known as an adult relationship, where you feel that you are okay and you feel that your client is okay. So it's I'm okay, you're okay. It's transaction between two adults. But if you're going in there feeling intimidated by your client, you're in a child-adult relationship, which means, I'm not okay, you're okay. So that you're carrying that mentality, I'm not okay, you're okay, into that relationship. Otherwise, why would you feel intimidated? And somehow you need to find a way of moving your mind into a child, an adult relationship. I'm okay, you're okay. And so you might need to do a little priming before that. Remind yourself of what you're like when you are at your best. Bring that back to mind. Sit with that. Let that install. Rehearse situations where you have felt intimidated by this particular client. And bring to mind. See if you can rehearse, again, while you're not in the session, ahead of time. How can I move my mind back into this adult way of thinking, rather than child-adult? What are the conditions necessary for that to happen within me? What is it that brings me to my best in situations like that? We've all had peak experiences of being at our best with people that we feel perhaps are more powerful than us. And we just need to bring that back to mind. And again, that's neural priming again, really. Give yourself a lot. And again, if you're feeling intimidated, just make sure, you need to anticipate what your mind is doing in a way and do the opposite of what the mind wants to do. If your mind wants you to speed up and talk fast, slow down and speak more slowly. For example, dialectical thinking is another thing that you can do. If you're feeling agitated, tell yourself you're feeling great. If you're feeling that the client doesn't like you, tell yourself that it's quite likely that the client is not thinking the way that you're thinking. Generally speaking, when we build stories about not being liked by our clients for whatever reason, it nearly always turns out not to be true. Where it can become true is when we react to that feeling by going off balance, waffling on, or wittering, or jumping into advice giving, which is so common. That's one of the things that we do when we feel off balance, is we try to restore the balance by coming across as an expert in something. We don't want to be doing that in a coaching situation with a powerful client that almost certainly knows more than you do about their subject. That will just make it worse. So notice the mind's tendency to do that and back off from it and just be the coach. Just ask simple, short, succinct, concise, otherwise succise questions. And then you'll know that you're doing well, that you're doing your best. As long as you know that you're doing, and again, maybe this is another mental orientation that you can bring in. As long as you are doing your best, as long as you know that you're being at your best, you won't worry so much about how the client is reacting to you. You'll have that egoless self-confidence that arises when we're just oriented towards the client and what is useful to them, rather than oriented towards our own ego, worrying about what the client is thinking about us. That's an ego story. Knowing that even if it does go horribly wrong, it's not the end. It's never the end. In the worst case, because sometimes you're predicting, the client's not going to like me, they're going to cut me off, they're this and that. They're going to gossip to other people about what a useless coach I am. All these stories are coming up. Nah. If you believe those stories, you're in trouble. It's never the end. There's always the next client. There's always the learning. There's always the possibility of, rather than walking out of the session and beating yourself up, which is what you're predicting that you're going to do, which is why you're feeling so bad. You should worry about how you're going to treat yourself afterwards. Yeah. But know that we can learn from any mistake that we do happen to make. Yeah, we're going to make mistakes. Absolutely, we are. But when we know that we can learn from them, we don't have to beat ourselves up about those mistakes. We don't have to be guilty and shameful about every mistake we make. We can set it aside and ask the question. So if this happens next time, how would I love to show up? Which is the learning zone. When we know that we can do that, we begin to flourish. And then we're less likely to make that mistake in the first place.